Welcome, good evening, people, God, Goddess, great old ones. Welcome to the channel today. I'm happy to be here again, sharing metaphysical and esoteric knowledge with the people. And we're gonna get into it today. So before we do, we're gonna start with the libation so we can invite the spirits and we can begin. And remember, this libation we start with is just to empower us, invite the spirit, activate what is inside us already. Remember, these are just energy that we need to use for ourselves in these last days. These are just energies in us. These are not energies for us to worship and start bowing down to. They are inside of us. And as we pour the libation, we call on these names. We line up those energy in us. So, Dambala Wedo, Ashe. Papalegba, Ashe. Aida Wedo, Ashe. Maolisan, Ashe. Kwibesu, Ashe. Grandi Aizan, Ashe. Asato Mincho, Ashe. Ogunfa, Ashe. Ezuli, Ashe. Ogun Bin Ladio, Ashe. Ogun Batala, Ashe. Ogun Shango, Ashe. Agwe Oyo, Ashe. Azagon, Ashe. Agun, Ashe. Simbi Ain Kita, Ashe. Simbi Ain Dezo, Ashe. Simbi Ain Paka, Ashe. Simbi Ain Pola, Ashe. Marasa, Ashe. Avada, Avadra, Borio, Ashe. Grande Alumandea, Ashe. Amisi Wedo, Ashe. Papa Unton, Ashe. Papa Loco, Ashe. Ibolele, Ashe. Zarabanda, Ashe. El Cristo Negro, Ashe. El Cristo Rey, Ashe. Simbi La Flambeau, Ashe. Selchet, Ashe. Selket, Ashe. Sekmet, Ashe. Great Mother, Ashe. Sophia, Ashe. Ainso, Ashe. Kuan Yin, Ashe. Pele, Ashe. Olokun, Ashe. El Cristo Rey, Ashe. La Santissima Morete, Ashe. La Santissima Predia Ima, Ashe. Great White Brotherhood, Ashe. Osiris, Ashe. Isis, Ashe. Nepsis, Ashe. Selket, Ashe. Selchet, Ashe. Teoti, Ashe. Idemili, Ashe. Kali, Ashe. To all gods and goddess known and unknown, Ashe. To all ancestors known and unknown, Ashe. We are dedicating this teaching also to the goddess Kali, goddess Sekhmet. We know that in these last days, the goddess Kali is supposed to come and destroy our humanity. Dedicate the teaching to goddess Kali, Ashe, and so the goddess is supposed to destroy our humanity in these last days. And basically, we are dedicating this teaching to the goddess because we all know our humanity must die these last days for us to really move on, for us to really leave this dimension and never return again. Because we know this dimension is the hell, right? We know we are not our physical body. We are not this body. We are a spiritual being having a physical experience. So if we know all this, if we can come into this knowing, then we know we are not our physical body. And we know in these last days we must kill that every human desire, because we know humanity, our human is the ego. Our humanity is the ego that is keeping us locked down in this 3D dimension, in this jail. So we must really kill that humanity in these last days for us to really transcend, or for us to move on and go to the next level. Ashe. And I want us to try and get the movie or watch the movies. It's called Zeus on Netflix, for us to really understand how the creators of this universe, how they see us and how they look at us. They see us as ants. Okay, if you watch the movie Zeus on Netflix, you'll see how the God of this universe treats the humans as ants, as his workers, as his prisoners. Okay, you see how he gets angry in the movie and cause rain, cause earthquake, cause different kind of catastrophe and atrocity. And in that same movie, they show how you die without knowledge and you have to reincarnate back. They show the whole thing, the afterlife and everything. So it's a good movie for us to really know the next level. When I say we need to know that we are God now, we need to understand we are God, we need to believe we are God. This is what we are, to prepare us for the next level. So you have to watch that movie and see just to get a glimpse of that next level I'm talking about, or to see how the creator of this place see us as food source. You know, when you own a poultry, the animals you're rearing in your poultry don't really know that they are food source, they are economic, they are being trained or being taken care of, so that they can end up being a food source to you, or whatever economic value you want to use them for. You want to sell them or whatever. These animals, they don't know. So the same way it is, the same way the creator of this place, the same way they see us. And what all this is happening is because we fail to open our mind to study, to read, and to stop being ignorant of this place, of this jail. You understand? Our desire for humanity, our desire for everything, our desire for nature, our desire for a good career and just to be good humans, to always be here, is what this owner of this universe, the demiurge, is what they feed off of, the archons and the demiurge. So that movie is a very good movie, so you can try to get that movie and try to watch that movie on Netflix. It's called Zeus. You get a glimpse of how the God of this universe sees us. It's just like when you play the game, the PlayStation, the characters they don't, if you play maybe like soccer, or you play Grand Theft or all these other games, those characters you use in that game, they don't know that they are in a game. You understand? No matter what, they can never be better than the programmer of the game. You understand? And we know that the only way to escape a prison is through reading. It's through the book. That's the only way we can escape. You see, even in real life, when people go to jail and they study in jail, they have the opportunity to study when they are in jail, when they are locked up. So that opportunity to study, you see that whoever studies during his time, when they serve the time in that jail, whoever studied the book that is available for them in that jail, when they come out, they become more better. You know, they escape coming back to that jail again. They are free. When they are free, they can get a job, they can use whatever knowledge they get from the books they've studied in the jail to escape coming back again. You understand? So that is how this jail, this prison that we are in, the only way out is for you to study knowledge of your higher self. You understand? It's for you to study. That's the only way out. When you study, and when it's time for you to escape this jail, which is death, only death, when it's time to escape through death, all the esoteric knowledge you have studied of your higher self, you retain them. Okay? You retain them in your light body, in your spirit body. So this knowledge, the knowledge you retain, the knowledge of your higher self, is what will take you forward, is what will move you forward. Is that knowledge that you will use, that you will need, so that you don't return to this jail, which is getting another body, trying to come back here and continue. Because it's when you are in this body, that's only when you can see this physical world. It's only when you are in the physical body, that's when you can use your two eyes to see the physical world. So as soon as you lose your physical body, you can't see this physical world again. It's all gone. So I hope we are understanding. I hope the message I'm passing from the spirit world is getting to the people, to you, God and Goddess, that you have come to this channel to learn and just, study and listen to what we teach on this channel, esoteric knowledge and metaphysics about your higher self, about you. Nobody can help you in these last days. It's only you. That's why you die alone. You cannot die with your loved ones. It's only you that will die. So when it's time for you to leave this place, for you to leave this jail, after serving the sentence, after doing everything, when it's time for you to leave this shell, this soul, this human body, all the knowledge of your higher self that you have studied during this lifetime, during the jail, when you leave, you are not going to come back again, because you already know things you've studied. The same way it works in this physical world. Those that go to this jail, that don't study, that do other things in the jail, after they serve that sentence and come outside, they are the ones that feel like, oh, I need to go back inside. Or you see, after some time they commit crime and they go back inside. You understand? Some of them don't even want to come outside. They want to remain inside there. You see? So that is how it is, because they don't know what to do. They don't have knowledge of nothing. So that is how it is too. You have to that's how you translate it also. If you don't study knowledge of your higher self in this lifetime, in these last days, in this Kali Yuga Aeon, where we are supposed to be gods, we cannot start chasing other human things when it is written that in these last days, you with soul, you the primordial man, is supposed to be God in these last days. You're supposed to become God in these last days in your own universe. So you cannot spend these last days chasing human stuff, chasing ego things. Okay? We have to know how, we have to be really serious on learning things about our higher self, studying, learning knowledge about our higher self, getting back our mind, taking back our mind with magic in these last days. Ashe. So there's a book called You Are a Spiritual Being Having a Human Experience by Bob Frisell. You can get the book, or you contact me, I'll share the book. This book make you understand that we are a spiritual being having a human experience. And the spirit world have been leading me to read more. There's this book I shared earlier, but I'm going to be doing some reading on the spirit world. The spirit is already here with us, so they're gonna, through me, interpret more on what I'm reading for the people about this new Aeon we are in and the past Aeon, because it's prophesied already that in these last days we are going to know the beginning in the last days. So in these last days, everything is going to come to light. Everything we forgot during the reincarnation of all our past lives, is going to come to light in these last days. That's why we must take all this information serious and study on our own. When you study all these books, all these hidden occult books, when you study them, you unlock something, you unlock portals in you, okay? The things you know already in you that you forget during your reincarnation cycle, you're gonna remember them. As you study, you activate that knowing in you already. You know all these things. This is our information. This information is for everybody. It's for everybody with soul. All of us have partaken in that reincarnating for millions of years here, down here. So it is time for us to transcend this humanity. And in these last days, in this last Aeon, all the information lost during the reincarnation cycle must be revealed back to the people. So when you study all these books that is now available, remember before the internet, all these books used to be very, very expensive, and you can only buy them in the West, in the US. So now that this new age is now here, all this book is coming to light. It's already on the internet. You can get them now and study for yourself. Especially we in the continent of Africa, we need to do this, and other continents. We are the owner of all the whole world. It's one land mass. Okay, so we have to stop all this. Whatever we are saying, if you have a soul, we are all the same. We just need to raise our vibration, and we need to study. When you study, you activate the knowing in you. You raise that your soul in you. Okay. So the name of the book we are going to be reading today is called Angels, Demons, and Gods of the New Millennium. In my past videos I've shared this book, but I'm going to be reading some parts in this book that is dealing with the different astrological timeline of the phases we have gone through, and due to reincarnating, it was wiped from our memory, from our brain and all that. You know, when you reincarnate in that baby brain, there's nothing you're gonna remember, but everything now is in the book now. Okay, and all these books came out from Egypt, from all the temples in Egypt, Alexandria, Dendera, Nagamadi, and the rest of them. So the Isis temple and the rest of them. So this is our information. All this information is our information. Okay, so we have to, these last days, we have to bring out all this information to the people. They cannot keep being in the dark. Those that want to learn, those that have break away from the chains of religion and all this other mind control, that want to learn higher things that transcend humanity. Okay, this is our information. This information is for you. When you read and study on your own, you use your mind. You activate the knowing in you. Your higher self, your subconscious mind come online. Your DNA activates. All the whole great ancient god and goddess that have returned in our DNA activate when you start reading, when you start studying and start practicing, start using your mind to do the things you want, to get the things you want. Use your subconscious mind. When you start doing all these things, everything in your DNA activates. Okay, you know the fear is gone. Because the highest thing you can be scared of is dying. And that is these are the informations you must bring out. When you know what happened from the beginning, you will not be scared of the ending, you will not be scared of nothing. Because all the information is out there now. The god Zarabanda, which is the god of the internet, and Aeon, he has made sure that all the information has been put out there right now. So there's no excuse for we, the great gods that have been locked up in this humanity. There's no excuse for us not to study all these informations and retain them after death and move on. Ashe. So angels, demons, and gods of the new millennium. Musing on Modern Magic by Lon Milo Duquette. Yeah, I'm going to be reading from this book, and I'm going to chapter to page 90. To page 90. Okay, 92. The precision of the equinox and the metamorphosis of the god. Now I shall tell of the things that change, new being out of old. Since you, O gods, created mutable art and gifts, give me the voice to tell the shifting story of the world from its beginning to the present hour. So, I begin reading now. I confess that I am old enough to remember when the golden age of Hippydom 1966 to 1969. My wife and I turned into the Beatles, yoga, astrology, and Eastern mysticism. Turned on to the softer varieties of chemical mind, expansion, and dropped out of college. The military-industrial complex and any involvement with the social and spiritual formula of the previous generation. We found ourselves thrust into the vortex of a profound and universal polarization of perception. Artists and young people were the first to be affected. Either you saw that the world has just changed radically, or you didn't. So it's either you are seeing that the world is changing, or you are not. But we know the world is changing, right? We can see the signs everywhere. If you saw it, you were seized with the realization of limitless possibilities, a world at peace, the eradication of disease and hunger, space travel, spiritual enlightenment. All seems possible and within our reach. Those that didn't see it include family members, politicians, and movie stars. Were seen as dangerous, collaborating with the slave masters and worshipping false old gods of greed, violence, and self-induced ignorance. Many and colorful were the variations within the symptonomy of change, but Bobby Dylan's rapsy little voice articulated its major theme: for the times they are changing. There was no shortage of theories proposing to explain this cultural phenomena. The government blamed communist agitation, the military blamed the liberal government, schools administrators blamed televisions, and the compassionate child raising advice of Dr. Benjamin Spock, right-wing extremists, blamed an international Jew conspiracy, fluoridated water, and Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley blamed the Beatles and Christian zealots for nearly every band of spectrum proclaimed that the eagerly awaited universal holocaust prophesied in the Bible was at last at hand. So we see that even the Bible prophesied that there's going to be a holocaust. They speak of the last days, which is everybody, you see, the last days, even the Bible speak of these last days to come, right? That we are in right now. We are in the last days. Finally, with a cultural irony that perhaps could only have occurred in 20th century America, a hit Broadway show about hippies revealed the cosmic cause of this manifestation of euphoric optimism and wide unrest. The dawning of the age of Aquarius. dawning of the age of Aquarius. World events of the decade following the turbulent 60s have proven that we were in a bit premature in our expectation of the millennial utopia, but a broad overview of human history and cultural evolution reveal that we are indeed living in an era of radical change. Looking further back into recorded history, it is possible to see other such transitional period flashing at regular interval along the timeline of history. This brief spark ignites the atmosphere of the age and define its dormant spiritual, intellectual, and social formula. So we can see that this astrology years comes after every 26,000 years. So, okay, yeah. So landmark along the timeline and the name of the ages vary depending upon one's scientific and spiritual discipline. The scale of the archaeologists is marked by the Ice Age, Stone Age, Bronze Age, Copper Age, and Iron Age. The sociologists think in terms of the Dark Age, Renaissance, and Age of Enlightenment. The Greek and Hindu sang of Golden Age, Satya Yuga, of perfect bliss and harmony, when humans walked with the gods. A Silver Age, Treta Yuga, of justice and enlightenment. So you see, enlightenment must come in this last age. That's why everything that has been in the dark must come to light. And we know from darkness you get light. So everything must come to light in these last days. We must be enlightened and be spiritual in this light days. We must know about our higher self. We must be enlightened about our higher self. Everything has been prophesied in these last days. A Bronze Age of law and enforced morality, an Iron Age, Kali Yuga, of violence and moral degeneracy. To the student of Western Hermeticism, a most significant timeline of the ages is determined by the relative movement of the heavenly bodies. Since at least the 3rd millennium BC, Vedic astrologers were aware of the spherical shape of the earth, the law of gravity, and the heliocentricity of the solar system. Centuries of observation also led them to surmise that our sun and solar system were revolving in an elliptical path about a dual sun or some other in point in the galaxy. By observing the relative position of the sun against the backdrop of the zodiacal band at the vernal equinox, it was discovered that the sun seems to fall a bit short of its starting position of the previous year, resulting in the loss of approximately 1 full degree every 72 years. Consequently, the sun appears to move backward across the belt of the zodiac at the approximate rate of one zodiac sign every 2,160 years. Because the ancient observations took place at the vernal equinox, this phenomenon of retrograde movement was named the precession of the equinoxes. And people, this astrology is real and powerful. The British government tried to take astrology to court and they lost during 1860 or something. So we can't play with this astrology. It's real something, okay? We know the 12 signs are the children of the creator of this universe, the demiurge. So astrology is really something important, okay? During its 12-month yearly journey, the sun moves forward through the zodiac, whose signs serve as symbols of the seasonal changes upon the earth during the 26,000 years of the great year. The sun moved backward through the zodiac, whose signs are symbols of spiritual season that are the various stages of the evolving consciousness of humanity. It is the momentum and direction of this spiritual growth that's the focus of this chapter. For it is in truth the movement that animates the metamorphosis of the gods. Yeah. So we see that these last days of Kali Yuga, our spiritual consciousness must rise in these last days. Okay, so let's go. Pantheon of One. At the risk of being labeled a solar, I will affirm a fact that any astrologer who is not suffering from a terminal form of denial must admit to be true. The sun is the god of the zodiac. Okay, the sun is the god of the zodiac. Its first and most important godlike duty is to simply provide the aspect of position in a time-space continuum. Without this point of reference, there would be no belt of the zodiac, because there would be no fixed point from which to project one, no time whose fragile existence requires a point of triangulation from which to observe the relative movement of the heavenly bodies, and the most importantly, no us. Solar energy, either from our own sun or from earlier generation ancestors, literally created the earth, moon, our planetary neighbors. The conversion of sunlight creates and sustains all life. Truly, in our little corner of the universe, the sun is not only the symbol of a god, it is a god. You see, the sun you see out there is symbol of God, okay, symbol of the creator. And don't forget, we have our own sun in us, which is our soul, the inner sun, the black dot, okay, that predates this sun, the pre-modern one, which we are, okay. So you see, we are God also. So we have to understand what we are in these last days and study, so that when we die, when we leave this body, we will never return back here again. So it says the sun is not only a symbol of a god, it is a god. This is not to say the moon, the planets, individual stars, the fixed stars, asteroid, comet, black holes, and all other as yet undiscovered celestial dignitaries are not also God, but for those of us upon earth, the influence of these other deities can only be ultimately realized through the agency of relationship with the sun. Okay, so you have to realize all these things. Like I said, they are inside of you, and you have to realize that you have the sun. You cannot be looking at the outside sun. You cannot try to be making a relationship with the outside sun you see out there by going out there every morning, looking at the sun or things like that. No, that's what they want you to be doing. They want you to be looking for things outside of yourself. Okay, you have your own inner sun in you that you have to make a relationship with. Okay, which is by what? By reading and having inner gnosis, inner knowing, by studying and practicing what you study. There is abundant evidence to demonstrate that since prehistoric times, the sun was venerated as deity by cultures around the world. More common, however, was the worship of a pantheon of goddesses and gods, who at first represented an assortment of natural powers and agencies relevant to the daily lives of the population of the local geographic area. Okay, you see, I told you, remember I said these names when I was pouring the libation, the name I'm calling, they are energies, okay? They are energies for you to use to better yourself, better your life in these last days. You can see that it's written in this book that for since prehistoric time, they see the sun as deity, okay? But I'm here to tell you that it's the inner sun the ancients know as deity. They know that this physical sun is the deity, but also they know they have their own inner sun, which is the information you have to know these last days. Okay? You are the God in these last days. So, say during prehistoric time, the sun cultures around the world, they know that the sun is the deity. Okay? More common, however, the worship of a pantheon of goddesses and god, who at first represent an assortment of natural powers and agencies relevant to the daily lives of the population of the local geographic area. Our Stone Age ancestors had thunder gods, gods of the hunt and god of fertility, who in later years would be called Zeus. Remember I say you get that movie Zeus on Netflix, so that you can understand how the God of this creation sees you, or how it feels. You know? How you feel looking at his prisoner every day. Later years will be called Zeus, Artemis, and Aphrodite, who just a few hundred miles away and handful of years later will be called Jove, Diana, and Venus. Gods such as these are not destroyed with the passing of each age, just as the sun is not destroyed as it passes from sign to sign. You know, energy cannot be destroyed, it can only what? It can another form be transformed. So you cannot be scared of dying, because when you die, you become energy, because you have your spirit but you are energy now. You cannot die again. You can never be scared of dying, because when you die, you cannot die again. So you cannot die twice, and your energy will transform to another thing. So you can never die and desire to come back here. You have to transform into something else when you die. So the knowledge to transform into something else, to move on to that next dimension, to that next level, is what we must study now in this body, in this physical body. This is something that even the creator of this place will not even like, to come down in this physical body through that incarnation something and go through what we are going through. So it's important we wake up in these last days, or you just come back, keep reincarnating in this hell. You keep reincarnating in this hell and keep going through all the changes the earth is going to go through in the coming years. And so a God such as these are not destroyed with the passing of each age, just as the sun is not destroyed as it passes from sign to sign in the precession of the equinoxes. Rather, the gods undergo shift in character and importance within the local pantheon. This metamorphosis is also illustrative of changes which accompany major societal and geopolitical upheavals, such as when the goddess of one culture becomes merely the wife or mother or of her former consort, or the male god of the tribe, city, or nation which has conquered her devotee in battle. For the ceremonial magician, each god can provide a subjective and easy to visualize image of a specific aspect of his or her own complex psycho-spiritual nature. To enter into a working relationship with a god, invocation, evocation, exhortation, prayer, etc., is to contact, activate, assimilate, or direct the particular facet of one's own being personified by the god. You see that these are tools for you to use. You cannot be doing like we did in the past. You cannot be worshiping all these things. They are tools for you to use. Cannot be scared of this. This is you. These are your name. Okay. These are different names for your higher self. They are you. You are them. So you use them as tools. You can't be bound. You cannot be coming down, coming to these energies, bowing down. When you invoke these names, these gods in libation, through libation, you activate something in you and you assimilate or direct the particular facet of one's own being personified by the god. Okay, so it's basically you have to understand that you are God also. This energy is you and you are them, so you use it as a tool. When you come with this kind of understanding and don't come with the ignorance of worshiping, bowing down, you will see how things will move forward for you. See how your life will change. You see how you start seeing everything in a different way, and you start growing and growing and growing. Change your life, change the life of others around you, and prepare yourself. When you die, you retain all this knowledge with you and you move on. Okay, I share. As we have observed, the characters of the gods are mutated and changed sometimes subtly and sometimes radically, with each step in the evolving consciousness of our race. In order to operate within the maximum efficiency and safety, when invoking a god of any pantheon, the magician must be unambiguously in tune with the most recent shifts. Zeus, Athena, and Aphrodite are the gods of all ages and cultures, are alive and well in the age of Aquarius. So Zeus, Artemis, and Aphrodite, they are alive in all ages, including this age of Aquarius. But the means by which they exercise their powers upon the modern psychic differ significantly from those of their Bronze Age incarnations. The modern magician who wishes to invoke the strong and aggressive presence of Mars might find himself or herself emotionally and ethically unprepared to handle a manifestation of drunken bloodlust, which was the natural calling card of Homer god Ares. To better understand the momentum of change along the timeline of the astrological years, let's take a brief look at just a few of the anthropological, cultural, and the spiritual landmarks that characterize the historic epoch important to the Western Hermeticism. Okay. I hope you are still here with me. Let's go. Don't get tired, people. Age of Leo, 10,996 BC to 830 BC. So, Age of Leo. The end of the last ice age with the beginning of the age of Leo. Much earlier, however, starting about 35,000 BC, Homo sapiens began displacing the Neanderthals as late hunting and plant collecting people spread throughout the eastern Mediterranean and later into Germany and Denmark. By the beginning of the age of Leo, advanced hunters of continental Europe were fashioning statues of a fertility goddess, but worship of animals and the magic of the hunt appears to have been the dominant form of spiritual expression. The tribal hero king killed in the hunt was venerated as a god and perhaps eaten along with the slain animal. Okay, this way of life continued in many localities well into the later ages, The hero whose life is sacrificed for the survival of his people is certainly among the earliest gods of the prehistoric pantheon. As consort to the great goddess, we will see his position and duties change as the ages progress. So this all happened during the age of Leo, okay, 10,996 BC before Christ, okay. So now we move to the age of Cancer from 8830 BC to 6664 BC. Age of Cancer now. You see how we are moving from age to age, right? So you see that in this age of Leo, the Homo sapiens began displacing the Neanderthals, okay, as late hunting and plant collecting people. So yeah, for those people that say we came from ape and all these things, you can see this period. Now we are in the age of Cancer, and we can see that the god who sacrificed himself, right, in this age, this is when you sacrifice yourself, you are eating just to save your people or your tribe, and later you worship as a god for the survival of your people, right? So as time goes on, that god will begin to change. You see, that energy will begin to transform during all this coming age. Let us see what it transformed into the age of Cancer. This period has been characterized as the Neolithic revolution, for humanity was beginning to exercise a willed control of nature. In the Near East, several varieties of plants and animals were domesticated. In many areas, the nomadic life of the hunt was replaced by the establishment of villages and towns necessary for the organized cultivation of crops. Crafts of the household, such as spinning, the textiles, and poetry making, developed late in the Caesarian period. The town of Jericho, where the decapitation of the dead and burial within the house was common, had a population of 2,000 by 8,000 BC. Crete was first settled in this period. In both locations, carved female images and phallic remnant of fertility cult have been unearthed. Okay. Now we go to the age of Gemini from 664 BC to 4498 BC. In Mesopotamia, the first settlement in the lower Sumerian plain was established in 6000 BC. Advances in irrigation technology and other agricultural improvements during this period contributed to the proliferation of settlements, and new cities swelled in population. Standardization of languages, a primary aspect of Mercurial Gemini, led to the development of trade and industry. So all these things is happening in the age of Gemini, okay? Technology for agricultural improvements start coming in, and you can see how development has been coming, Even aims the preoccupation of urban life, religion appears to have still been focused upon the mystery of fertility of humans, fertility of crops, domesticated animals, and beasts of the hunt. During this era, the figure of the great goddess changed dramatically, taking on a threefold image of maiden, mother, and crone. Furthermore, her male consort, the sacrificial victim, was pictured riding a bull or leopard, symbolic of the animal nature harnessed but not tamed. Okay. As the astrological age of Taurus was drawing, the spreading horns of the bull became the universal symbol of the goddess sacrificial lover. So you see, during the age of Gemini, it was the male who was being sacrificed as victim during the time of the goddess, during the age of Gemini, during the fertility of humans and fertility of crops. See, so you see that there's a time where we spend, having children, multiplying, and all these things, crop building, doing all these things. So in these last days, there are a lot of things that we cannot spend our same time doing, okay? Because we've already done them in the past. These are the things that have been wiped during the reincarnation. When you reincarnate, when you desire yet too much and take a new body, they wiped all these things from your memory, from your knowing. So now, these last days is coming out again for you to remember and know that, okay, in the age of Gemini, I've spent my whole existence repopulating, fertility, and all these things. So in the age of Taurus, 4498 to 2332 BC, the age of Taurus can truly be called the birth of civilization, for it presided over the creation of the cultures that would lay the foundation of Western thoughts, okay, technology and religion. Here, the symbols and meaning of the zodiac ages become more comprehensible to the modern students, for it was during this period that the art of astrology reached a zenith, and the 12 signs familiar to us today were given their names and attributes. You see, this was also the time when the archetypes of what we think of today as the pagan pantheons began to take recognizable form. You see, not until the age of Taurus all this began to happen. Alright. This period saw a social/sexual revolution in the hierarchy of the religious cults. The command the great goddess held upon the racial imagination began to wane as it became more and more obvious that the fertility of her priestess and consequently the earth depended ultimately upon the potency of her consorts. You see, arrangements were negotiated to postpone the regular sacrifice of the male consort. You see, in that other age, they sacrifice male, right? You see, so this is, you can see where the sacrifice of your male child and all those things came from, right? Arrangements were negotiated to postpone the regular sacrifice of the male consort by substituting a surrogate victim, often a virgin boy, each year in his place. You see, sacrifice a virgin boy. Understandably, the consort came to enjoy the idea of not being ceremonially dispatched in the field at the end of his tenure, and eventually the matriarchal establishments were overthrown altogether and replaced by formerly subjugated males whose emblem was the bull. Figure 7 shows that the age of Taurus saw the birth of the Egyptian, Mesopotamian, Minoan, and Indian civilization. The pantheons of local gods of this and others' culture developed along uncannily parallel lines, but despite the popularity of the local deities, the predominant religious icon remained the bull. In Egypt, the adoration of the bull god Apis dominated the ceremonies of public worship for over 1,000 years. Privately, however, the priests of the bull cult worship differently. As I pointed out earlier, when the sun is in one sign from the earth point of view, the earth is in the opposite sign from the sun point of view. Okay? Hope you are following. Of course. have to keep the spirit gene. Share. Yeah. The sage of this okay. The sage of Egypt were among the first to realize that while our physical bodies are creatures of the earth, okay? You see, our physical, remember I say you are not your physical, you are not your body, you are not this your physical body. That's why when you die, this body remains on earth, because this body belongs to the creator of this place, belongs to this nature here. Okay, so the sages of Egypt were among the first to realize that while our physical bodies are creatures of the earth, our spiritual bodies, our real identities are solar beings. Okay, solar, your soul, you are God. Okay, you are God. You are a God having a human experience. You are even above the God, right? You are greater than the gods of this creation, because our soul was never created and it predates creation. Okay, so say our spiritual bodies, our real identities are solar beings. In other words, the age of Taurus, our physical bodies and mundane life were influenced by the energy filtering through the sun from Taurus, but our spiritual condition was influenced directly by the unfiltered rays of Scorpio. Keeping this in mind, it is no surprise that the same priest who publicly led the jewel bed-necked bull of Apis to his sacrifice wore upon their brows the Uranus serpent of one of the most sacred and secret symbols of Scorpio. Okay, serpents. And you know the serpent people, the serpent race, serpent cults, the Naga people, and we know serpent. This is just a symbol for the Kundalini. Okay, for the Kundalini, and for it can also be a symbol for the DNA, the two serpents. Okay, so now we move to age of Aries from 2332 to 166 BC. Now the sun is exalted in Aries, and in Egypt the great astrological age of Aries saw the development of magnificent forms of solar worship. I just want to put this, you can see that from the beginning of all these ages, we have been worshipping, okay? Worship the goddess, worship and worship and worship till now. So it must end in these last days. We have to stop worshipping, because our soul has no gender, it's neither male or female, right? So all this worship, all these things, worship goddess and all this era, is the soul going through all this nation, developing during all this thing, learning all these different aspects of creation. Okay, now after all these ages, all these millions, thousands, millions of years, it's time to stop that worshipping. It's time to become what we have been worshipping all these ages, right? Asher. The sun is exalted in Aries, and in Egypt, the great astrological age of Aries saw the development of magnificent form of solar worship. For over 2,000 years, the cult of Osiris, Isis, and Horus embedded the passion play of the daily and yearly adventures of the sun deeply upon the consciousness of the people, and evolved a collateral pantheon of gods and goddesses of such sublime strength and perfection that they are easily reawakened in the modern psychic. Identity with the cycles of the sun brought with it an obsession with death and resurrection that dominated the spiritual musing of reality early in the age. Okay. Later in the period, artisan and tomb workers would become eligible for eternal life. Okay. by proper magical identification with the same divine power that is responsible for the daily and yearly